you want an actual makeup tutorial, you just found one. Start with clear eyeshadow base. I'm going to focus mostly in the socket. We want to make sure that we even that out, bring it all the way up to our brow bone. And then I'm actually going to grab this pencil. This is actually a lip and eye pencil. We're going to lay this down as our color. And we're also going to use it as a lip liner. But listen, if you want to use something on your lips and your eyes, you have to make sure that you're sterilizing it. So this has been sterilized with alcohol. So I'm going to start on my eyes first, then lips later. Let's kind of smooth and blend that out. Still using that C31. This is really going to tie in later. This shade is almost a tawny bronzer, so it's going to be really pretty as a base. I'm so excited. This palette is just delightful. Look at this. I want to start with this shade. The shadow is just on one side. We're going to flip the shadow side to the ceiling and start to push that kind of into our upper crease. And when I say upper crease, that's the part that's more exposed when our eye naturally is relaxed. So first place, okay, and then see that right there? That could be a little bit too much. These are a little bit more pigmented than I was expecting. And then we're just going to smooth. So I wiped off the brush, now we smooth. Now we're going to take powder foundation and I'm kind of going to finish out this blend. And I use powder foundation because it's going to be my skin tone, but more coverage. And it really just blurs this top part. Let's get a little bit more warmth and depth. We're going to grab quite a bit of this. I'm starting to understand the level of pigment we're at now here. Ooh, that is nice. We're just going to add some depth out here. Then I'm going to flip the brush over, transition that upwards a little bit. Notice that I'm tapping. I have a lot of control when I tap. We're going to switch to a smaller brush now and we're going to start to shade. I'm just going to start to stamp that out here, stamp it into the socket, and then have it peek out of the socket a little bit. That way we can start to shade. And we'll get a little bit of lift this way even without wing liner. We're going to use one of the intense shimmers, maybe that one, but first let's start the sheen. I like to kind of gradually get into the intense sparkle, and this one's a little bit more of a satin than even a shimmer. So we're just kind of feathering that into that darker outer part of our eye. Now time for the sparkles. Grab it on the side of the brush, and I'm just going to keep it on my natural lid. So if I was doing a cut crease, I would want to create a much larger lid. So I would put the sparkle probably all the way up that way. But I want it to just be a little whisper of shimmer. So I feel like this is going to be perfect. So this is the darkest shade in the palette, and we're just going to do a light smudge here. I'm just kind of blinking on it, but I think we should do a true tight line as well. Let's grab MAC Black Track on an E26, and we're going to need two brushes for this. But one of the brushes, all we're going to do is hold up our lashes. And do you see? So I'm really not going on my waterline. If I happen to, that's just because I'm doing this into my phone, but I'm kind of wiggling that liner into my lashes. And what this is going to do, it's going to create a thicker lash line and more intensity, since we're not going to do liner. But don't do this into your phone. Do this into a mirror. Now, finishing touches, the brush is upside down, and you're just filling in all of the gaps in between your lashes. Just creates a lot of depth at the lash line. See that difference? So cool. Now we're going to powder the lashes because dry lashes hold curl. This could also help with transfer underneath here later. Powder your lash curler. Now it's time to curl. This is my favorite lash curler of all lash curlers. It is just so delightful. And what you're seeing me do is I'm just very carefully getting to the root, and then I'm going to hold it on here about 15 seconds. And if you like a curled lash, I highly recommend this Milk Cosmetics. It's literally for lashes that don't want to stay curled. Mine. So this is going to be the best foundation tip that you've ever gotten. Do you see how flat that is? Flatten out that foundation. I'm telling you, if there's even, here, look, right there, too much of a ridge. The thinner the foundation is going on, the more smoothly it's going to apply, the more evenly it's going to apply. And you know what? Even makeup, even across the skin like this, that's long wearing makeup. This is kind of one of my signature techniques. We're going to pick up foundation on my brush. That might even be too much. And I'm going to start to not take away, but melt in the edges here. And I'm gonna go ahead and start to bring it down this way. And that foundation is kind of mixing with the eyeshadow. I'm picking up more. And it just creates this beautiful blended melted edge. I'm gonna do the same thing out this way. Notice that we're melting it into the foundation. I'm not doing a harsh line. I do harsh lines too, love that. But this is just a really nice way to get your eyeshadow to kind of melt into your look. And then as a last step, I take a little bit across this top part, kind of through here, right? Not below, just right through there to continue the melt. Look at the difference. It's just so delightful. Now make sure you use the fluffiest eye brush in your collection because you want it to be diffused, not pigmented and packed. Remember the 𝗕𝗲𝗀𝘀𝗀𝗀 pencil? We're gonna use that kind of as a pre-bronzer. If your bronzers turn orange on you, this would be a really, really good option. The reasoning behind this is when I go out into the sun, I naturally turn basically this color. So this is gonna help our cream bronzer just look a little bit more natural for me. And it's gonna tie into our eyeshadow and our lip liner later. I'm gonna do a little bit of this blue before concealer to brighten and to make sure that our concealer isn't too dark or too orange. And what did we learn? Flattened out, smooth complexion is long wearing complexion, even, well really especially underneath our eyes. We know them under eyes wake up and want to betray us. Time for concealer, and be mindful of how hard you're pressing. You might not have to smooth it out. Nice. Let's take our C32, melt this all together. And that's really just gonna brighten up the inner corner. It's not going to be blue. It's just a little bit of color theory. I haven't used this in a while, but I remember absolutely loving it. But you know what? I don't wanna do the wand because I could pick up the foundation and all the good stuff we have on. So again, with the even makeup, let's just grab a little bit, even it out, and then we're gonna grab a brush. I want a more diffused application. I'm gonna pick up just a little bit on the C40. Start to melt it into that more tawny red that we have on. Oh yes, delightful. And remember, it's always easier to build. So if you ever see me put on something and you're like, where's the pigment? Oh, it's there. I'm just afraid of it, okay? I would rather build than have to take it off. Time to set. I'm gonna pick up my powder on my puff. Then I'm going to push it into the puff. And what happens is it makes it really nice and even. And then we're just gonna go ahead and set it, cat hair and all. Pretty sure one just went into my eye. And this is not baking. This is still considered setting. Even though you might be seeing powder kind of sitting there, it's going to all get pressed in. And that ensures that we have a super smooth, no creasing under eye. And then I just kind of use what's left to set the center, even if I have to keep going back to grab it and then putting it other places. Remember, this still hasn't touched our lips. We're still good to place it all around the eye. And grab this shade and add a little bit of depth right in the lash line. I'm gonna do a little bit of an inner corner wing. By the way, I absolutely love this liner from NYX. This is from the Beetlejuice collection. Whatever they did to this black liner side, 11 out of 10. Powder everywhere, but let me give you a little blush tip. What I did here is I picked up some translucent powder, and then I love this blush, but I don't want it quite as pigmented. So I'm gonna apply it with the powder. And not only am I gonna get the pigment, but I'm gonna get a more diffused application. Kind of just blurs the blush. Love this trick. Now, time for the lips. Let's do this Revlon lip gloss. I don't think I've tried this. The shade is Rose Quartz. Delightful. Few finishing touches. I kind of like to melt this together over here a little bit. This palette, 11 out of 10. Can't wait to use it again. If you made it all the way to the end, thank you for watching. Save this for later.